This is not a video review for Transformers Prime Powerizer / Voyager Megatron. I will not be reviewing this guy until I get his head. How that's going to happen, I don't know, but it will happen eventually. I've contacted Hasbro about the problem with the packaging. Basically, I said, this is what happened to me. The seller's not at fault. The head just got lost somewhere because of the packaging design. I think eventually we're going to have a lot of Megatrons on the shelves without heads. They'll be unsellable. Hopefully, because I brought this to your attention, you'll be able to fix this before it becomes a big issue for you. Maybe Hasbro will send me a replacement head, maybe a whole replacement figure. I've got no idea. And my seller has promised to do what he can to find a replacement head for me. So, eventually I'm going to review this guy, but not for now. What I'm going to talk about with this video are several problems with this figure that you need to know going in, because while I can't review this guy, I can do a proper review on this guy. I can let you know about several severe issues. First of all, his arms get very loose very fast. It's this white plastic on white plastic here. It's a ball joint. I have not noticed the same issue with his purple plastic, but it may also be subject to this problem down the line. Now, the only way to fix this is with super glue or future floors. You can find tutorials about how to tighten joints. I don't know, on the TFW. You can find people talking about that all over the place. If in doubt, just ask on the TFW 2005 forums. But I also want to talk about his arm articulation. He does not have a bicep swivel. He has a basically a wrist swivel, which is nice, but no bicep swivel, no complete bicep swivel. You can turn the arm in and out like this because of the ball joint, but it doesn't provide that big of a range. Now, this arm right here is basically can move wherever it wants, but this arm over here, this is as far out as you can bend the arm. Well, you can bend out further, but actually it will end up depegging the backpack from the chest here, and that's not good. And part of the reason why is because he can't lift his arm just straight out. He has to turn in like this, which causes this part of the shoulder right here to bump into his chest. And the reason why his arm has to tilt like that is because the stock the ball joint's on is at an angle. And if you look right here, there's a fair amount of plastic in there, and that's actually bumping up onto the ball joint stock. That's preventing it from going out at a more horizontal angle. Now you will notice on this arm, I've cut that plastic away here, and I've rounded out this part of the shoulder. And it's not as free as it could be, but it's a lot more free than the other arm. So I want to show you exactly the cuts you need to make to fix the shoulders. Now, first of all, it's a ball joint, so just pop it off. So, here is the arm. It is the left arm, so we want to shave this side right here into an angle. Be careful not to cut into the cup, because it is a somewhat shallow cup, and you don't want to damage its ability to hold the shoulder ball joint. Just slowly cut it into an angle. Just take your time. I'm right-handed, so this actually isn't as easy as the right arm was on this guy, because on the right arm I was able to get a much better angle on this part right here. So this probably will take a bit more time than it did for the other arm for me, but if you just keep trucking along, you'll get there. Oops, not on camera, but really it's pretty simple what I'm doing. I'm just cutting at an angle here so this plastic won't be bumping against the ball joint stock. I'm paying more attention to what my hands are doing just by looking at them directly than at and then looking at them through the camera. So if it goes off screen, that's why I'm being safe. This is basically as much as you need to do it. You could do a little bit more if you wanted, but we'll be test fitting this. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to round out this part of the shoulder here so it won't bump into the chest so much. So to do this, what we need to do is just slice across like this. Slow and steady, eventually we'll wear it down. Or we'll shave it down. What's strange is that this white plastic really is kind of a dense plastic. I mean, I'm not exactly using the best blade, but it is kind of hard to cut through, and yet this plastic got loose so easily. So I'm thinking that chances are the ball joints on the actual mold itself just come out just a little bit too small, so they don't have quite enough friction. And what happens with ball joints is that over time they get burnished, which causes it's just the friction. So if the ball joint's big enough, the burnishing process will end up making a very long-lasting ball joint, because it's still big enough to do its job, but it's worn down to the point where it's not going to wear down at a very fast rate. Here, I think is that they're big enough to do their job before being burnished. So, and that's a bit of a shame, because it's a dense plastic. It doesn't feel like it's easy to cut through anything. It doesn't feel like it's animated plastic, for example. So that's just my guess on what the problem is with the shoulder ball joints. I know I'm rambling a bit, but there's not really much else to do while I'm showing you how to do this modification to his arms. One thing that's nice is because this guy does have the shoulder pads, is that you don't have to worry about this affecting the look of the arms. They'll still look really good, especially if you take your time. You don't end up putting stress marks on the figure, because like if you just lop off a big part, you'll leave a big white mark on the plastic. And one thing about doing this part of the modification, rounding this out, is that you need to do more than you think you gotta do. And it's because even after having done this, the angle of the ball joint stock will, due to the actual housing for the ball joint in there, will cause it to bend out in a strange way still, just not as bad. And, well, basically what happens is, because there's not just a flat point here that's bumping into the ball joint stock, instead of just stopping, you'll roll it out. So it'll take a bit longer. There, you see, a little stress mark right there, but it's so close to the inside that I don't care that much, and I can cut that away. So one thing that, when I was designing the Little Orphan Android figure, that I was asking around about, is that you see how there's a little notch in there? Well, a lot of, well actually, let me show you on the actual bigger figure, how there's like a notch right here because it's a disc joint, or there's a notch right here on the ball joint. I was asking about that when I was designing Little Orphan Android. And the reason that's there is so that the plastic can stretch, has an easy stress release point when you're putting the ball joint in, so that it can stretch a little bit without just having to fracture to let the ball joint in. And that's pretty neat, actually. I had suspected that may have been there for molding purposes, so that you don't have to risk the actual cup when you're taking the figure off the mold. You maybe have something that sticks in, you pull it out, and it makes it a lot easier to remove everything. But maybe that's true, but that would be actually a fairly complex mold, and maybe that's done. I have no idea, but the stress relief thing is the big reason for that. And this amount of rounded out, I think, is just about enough. I want to make this just a little bit more of an angle, but that's just to be on the safe side of things. And yeah, this should be a pretty good fit on the arm now. This has been rounded out a significant amount, and that's no longer just an edge I'll catch onto the ball joint sock. Let's test fit this. Like, you see how that's at an angle. Why is this not pegging in? You see how the backpack pegs in through the shoulder joints there? There we go, and put this on, and yeah, that's a lot better. See, it goes out without just stopping. It sort of rolls it into position, and this right here isn't bumping into the chest. So yeah, the arm's getting a little bit loose. Part of the reason why it's loose is because I took it off the ball joint, and because actually this is something interesting about ball joints also. If you ever notice that when you're playing with a figure, that the ball joints have sort of a dusty look, if you take the ball joint off and you blow that dust off, the ball joint will be significantly looser. And the reason why is because that dust sort of just sticks onto the ball joint and it'll roll inside of the joint. It'll act kind of like ball bearings, but still allowing for friction. So just taking this out, carving on it, and then blowing into the ball joint cup to get the extra plastic out did make this a little bit looser. But yeah, this is how you fix the arms. This helps a lot. I do recommend doing this. It's a pretty easy mod, and really it doesn't matter that it's going to loosen your arm joints because they're going to get looser anyway. You will want to tighten these. And yeah, this has been how to fix Megatron's arms. Thank you for watching.